All right, all right. It is Wednesday and we are live. For the folks who are in the chat and who are watching this, please tell me, can you hear us? Can you see us? I'm still suffering from PTSD when I went live a couple weeks ago with none of my technology working, and I cannot get over it.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep, I see it pop up over here on my other screen, so I can see myself talking, and I know that it is working. So I've
Yeah,
muted
I did hear us as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. So in the chat, I wanted to say, hey, really quick before we jump into our chat, I see Sabine, who is Mom Fan Up, and I see Right Savvy Technology. I'm pretty sure that's Jeff, and there's Adrian. I see a handful of other folks in the chat. Welcome. You know the drill. Please hit the thumbs up button. Smash that so YouTube will send out the notification and we can get some more people here to talk with Jasper, who is a new friend. I want to say new friend, new colleague. The reason I said Justin is because I've been following the Empire Flipper story really carefully. And so Justin Cook and his team has been on my mind in the last week. So before we dive in really quickly, I just say hey to everybody. And then there is Margaret. Thanks for dropping in. So before we go any deeper, Jasper, please introduce yourself. Give us a quick rundown of who you are. I'm not going to have him go into the super deep of what he does because I actually just interviewed Jasper for the podcast. If you missed that, it is here on YouTube. I posted the video version of it, and the link is in the description also to the podcast. So if you want that, you got it. So Jasper, please introduce yourself, and then we'll go.
So I'm Jasper. I'm 21 years old, and I'm from the Netherlands. And I've been building websites for about 2.5 years now. And it's been going pretty well for almost 2 years. In December, I got hit a bit with the core update. Well, not a bit, 80% traffic loss. But
oh God,
yeah, that's me. That's what I'm doing. Pretty short.
Awesome. I'm actually watching the numbers. So right as we said, hey, what's going on? Then YouTube showed me that nobody was watching. So it went from 7 or 8 people, and then it just went down to 0. And now people are popping in again. So it's really interesting how that happens. So Adrian, what's going on? Adrian is a pretty cool guy. He actually comes to these streams a lot, and he also is a regular on, I think, is it Alex's stream where you are a mod over there, Adrian? But he is also working on building websites. So thanks for dropping in, Adrian.
Hi.
So really quick, Jasper, then I noticed that you had dropped an Ezoic video this last week, and I think it is that you had a good experience on Ezoic, but it was my recollection that you had a site that was on AdThrive. And so I was wondering, did you move a site over, or did you start a new site on Ezoic? I wondered how it is that you went from AdThrive to Ezoic.
Yeah, so I currently have 5 websites, and I just use the older data. I'm pretty sure in the video I said that the data from the large websites was from 2019. So I use that data to kind of display some larger numbers. And then I have 2 smaller websites that are also on AdThrive, but these are smaller websites and they're in Dutch. So I thought having an English website in there is pretty helpful to paint a better picture for most people that are looking to join Ezoic.
Interesting. So did you have, I actually haven't gotten to look at the video yet. So was it that you had a good experience, or you didn't, or... So which of your sites then did you put on Ezoic? Was it the newer sites? Because I don't think you moved your big site over, right? The big site.
No, that's on AdThrive. That's never moving, I think. So my plan, basically my roadmap, is I always join Ezoic, with whatever site I'm working on. Basically, almost from the start, usually around 2,000 page views, I'm joining Ezoic. And from there, I just stay with Ezoic until I can join either Mediavine or AdThrive. So any site eventually.
Awesome. Are you following at all the Empire Flippers case like I am? I mean, folks know in here that I'm constantly doing updates on the income store and the Empire Flipper stuff. Are you following that at all?
I saw your last video, but that really introduced me to the topic, and I haven't really seen anything else yet, but it looks like a very interesting story.
So if folks in the chat or who are watching this on the replay don't know, the video is on the main channel, but the Empire Flippers case, they're being sued by the receiver because Empire Flippers sold some of their sites to the income store, right? They're a broker. And so the receiver turned around and sued Empire Flippers and accused them of fraud, right? They said these were worthless sites. The word in the complaint was worthless, like meaning
Okay.
$0, right? Accusing them of just outright, almost criminal activities. And it looks like that case is going to settle, and Empire Flippers is going to pay Empire, the income store, $250,000, right? And then
That's a lot of money.
yeah, it is. And then in that settlement document, the receiver basically stated that they're planning on suing the sellers of those sites that Empire Flippers brokered. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about whether or not it would change your opinion about selling your sites using one of these brokerages if you knew that it could, like a Google update could happen, and then the people who bought the sites through Empire Flippers or FE International could come back and sue you for it.
From what I heard here right now, it's a pretty weird story. I mean, if you're buying a website, I suppose you do your due diligence and you can see that you're buying a worthless website. So yeah, it seems kind of strange. I mean, you gotta mess up on your own to buy a worthless website.
Right? But that's the thing, you say, okay, well, how is it that I'm going to put up my air quotes, like worthless website, how could that end up on a brokerage like Empire Flippers? And you say, okay, well, if a website has PBNs, right? Like PBNs powering the traffic and giving authority to the site, and maybe those PBNs aren't disclosed. Does that make the site as valuable? Like if the buyer didn't know that there were PBNs, or there was something that was manipulated, you could say, oh, well, then maybe the site could be worthless. But is it?
No, that's true. I mean, if you're lying in your listing, that's just not correct. I got to be honest, I don't really know too much about selling and buying websites as of now. I'm trying to learn, but I never really looked at the specifications with Empire Flippers. But yeah, it seems like it falls from both ends. I mean, if you're lying, that's not correct. But buying a website and finding out a few months later that it's worthless, that also doesn't really seem normal.
Well, I don't think that anybody in this space, and I'm certainly not one of them, has to be considered an expert in buying, selling to have thoughts. And honestly, I think that an exit is a goal that a lot of us have, right? Like selling a site in the future, that's one of your goals, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely
so
after the core updates, just cashing in.
right. And so you say, okay, at what point do I need to start learning about these things? Because I mean, if you waited until the site was ready to sell, like in 2 or 3 years, to start learning about how to sell a site, I would argue that people should investigate that from the beginning, so that they know that they can create something that would ultimately sell quickly, sell easily, that there would be demand for it. Because you say, oh, I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this iPhone website that you then take over to these portfolio places, and then they're like, we don't want your site. It's like, it seems like people should be doing that from the beginning.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind when starting a site. For me personally, I haven't really looked at it because I didn't want to sell my only revenue generating website. But I was definitely looking at buying sites, so I would have come in contact with Empire Flippers or other brokers eventually.
I think the question, though, of what makes a site valuable, because usually people are looking at traffic and earnings, right? That those are the primary things that people use to say, okay, does this site have value or not? And then the other things that come along with it, like the links and the content and all the rest. But ultimately, it's the question is the site earning money or not?
Yeah.
And that will determine whether or not someone is interested in it. And it will set the floor for how much people are willing to pay. But the question of like the type of content, right? You say, all right, well, there's content on it, it's driving traffic, it must be good enough. But what we're seeing, and we know from being in this business, is that a lot of the affiliate content out there is not, I'm going to put my air quotes, like real content. Most of it is recycled, like people collating
from manufacturers.
Just like, or, now they're using conversion.ai basically to make up content.
Yeah, I've been seeing that going on a lot. Those AIs.
So then you say, okay, well, what value does that content really have? And should a site that is built on completely recycled content be worth $500,000?
Yeah, that's difficult. I mean, it's on one hand, it could be worth it. If it's worth $500,000, that means it's bringing in about $8,000 a month. So, but yeah, even with recent April updates from Google, they are hitting. You never really know, and I do think that's part of the risk we take with this business.
Yeah, that the word risk is the absolute right one, because that is something that most people are not necessarily talking about, is that this is not the same as like buying a website is not the same as buying a house,
No,
right? I
no,
mean,
not at all.
the house might burn down, but you have insurance. You know, the renters might destroy it, but again, you have insurance. You have legal. There's legal avenues to pursue recovering from them. But if Google slaughters your website, I mean, we're not going to be able to go and sue Google and say, you took my traffic away, you jerk.
No, they're not even going to look at you. I know when I told my parents I got hit by the update, they were like, "Oh, just send them an email; it will all go away." And then, but yeah, I just told them they won't even look at me. I'm pretty sure their email that you can reach just goes straight to spam or to the.
Oh, I'm checking over at the chat. I see Steve Mack wondering in. Hey, Steve, how's it going? Thank you for dropping in. I see Niche Safari Chris. Chris, what is going on? So far, what have you missed? Let's see. We had Jasper do a really quick introduction, and I called him the wrong name. I called him Justin. So then I was really embarrassed, basically, for about the first 5 minutes. It took me a minute to get over that. And then
No
we talked a bit about Jasper's sites over on Ezoic, and then we were just talking about my my Empire Flippers video that I put out last week about the receiver making the statement that she was going to sue the sellers of the sites that Empire Flippers sold to the income store, which I still, like, my mind is like, I still can't wrap my head around this, and I do not understand why more people are not talking about this, because I think it sets like this ridiculous precedent. Because anytime a site goes to zero after the sale, the people could be turning around and selling Empire Flippers and the seller for selling them a worthless site. I mean,
Yeah,
now
the scary thing is that even when you're selling a legitimate website, it could also drop to zero. So then there's literally nothing you've done wrong, but you can still get sued, apparently.
Look at this. Jeff says, call Google and tell them that their car warranty is up. That was a good one, Jeff. That made me laugh. I really, that did make me laugh. I also saw Pavan in the chat. What is going on? Thanks for dropping in. So
Hi.
Pavan, you set up and you are doing, you created a tool that I have not had a chance to use. And I would love it if you would drop the link to it in the chat. I will approve it when it rolls through. And just tell us really briefly about the tool so I can tell everybody about it. Maybe you'll find some more beta testers in this group who are interested in checking it out. Sabine says, yeah, I wonder if the sale on the site will be investigated just like a crime. I don't think that there is any sort of criminal sort of implications, people looking into it, but you have to wonder if possible that could happen in the future. Though if somebody were to create a site and then power it with PBNs and copyright infringement and then sold it, took the money, and then the site went blah, like that sure as heck sounds like some version of theft to me.
Yeah.
Right? It's a misrepresentation. Yeah. It's like theft by lying, which is a crime.
Yeah, it's almost like fraud. It
is, and it's a white collar crime used by so it'd probably be federal, because they love the crimes committed by electronic means. And yeah, I mean, I wonder if this industry were bigger, right? If this were Bitcoin, then the feds,
they'd be on it.
They would be all over it. But because this is such a niche down area where there's not a lot of people doing it, that they're not that interested in it yet. But if it were a big enough transaction and the players were easy to find, like they weren't in Singapore or Pakistan or Australia or Bolivia, that you could see potentially the suit happening here. The one thing that has really been demonstrated to me following the income store suit is just the lack of understanding of how all of this goes. Like Empire Flippers was initially sued for the $2 million of the transaction, but most of that money was passed by Empire Flippers to the sellers. Like Empire Flippers wasn't enriched. They didn't gain that $2 million, but the receiver created the pleadings, alleged that Empire Flippers was enriched by that $2 million. They just didn't understand that Empire
They
Flippers
take a
didn't.
commission, right?
Yeah, just the
Or
commission.
yeah.
They just like this complete and total just whoa. And it makes so much sense to me. Like I get it. Like, yeah, but then I forget I've been in this business for a couple of years now, and that totally makes sense to me. And I forget what it was like when I didn't know what that was and how that worked.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn in this business.
I think that
Even I'm still learning every day.
I feel like that should be the shirt, is like lots to learn, because
Yeah.
because you could be 2 or 3 years down into this whole thing, like this whole rabbit hole, and still feel like a beginner.
Yeah, I do still feel like a beginner. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So you had a site that you built up over a period of 2 years, and that went to almost 250,000 page views a month. And you're telling me that you still feel like a beginner?
Yeah, I do, because well, currently I'm not at 250,000 page views a month.
But you can't deny that it takes some amount of skill to build a site to that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of dedication. But there's so much to learn. I mean, the basic SEO levels, I probably don't know that much. I mean, I know how to write some content that will rank well, but the SEO, I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
So then what do you do to a blog post when you say, oh, I think I understand how to write a post to make it rank well? I mean, what do you do to a post that makes it do that?
Yeah, well, I think finding the right topic to write about is the biggest part. And that's one of the things I learned in income school. I think they explain it very well, and they have a very straightforward approach. And aside from that, it's just making the best content possible. It's making the most helpful piece of content. And I do really think that that's the most important part.
Okay, well, let's dive deeper into that then, because I feel like that is the answer that a lot of people give, right? They just say, well, just write good content, right? I mean, that's kind of what you told me, right? You're like, oh, well, pick the topic, which is important, right? It's the keyword research, and then picking the topic. But then you're like, write good content. And I got to tell you, I want to like shake people. They say, just write good content. And like, there are people out there who are listening right now that's like, they don't know what that means.
No,
like,
that's right.
What does a good piece of content look like? Like, let's stop telling our listeners and the people who are out there, like, just write good content. Like, what is that for me? What does that mean to you?
To me, it means a very short and precise portion in the article that's focused entirely on winning the snippet. This is, I think, one of the most important parts. This is probably, I mean, when I was still doing 250 page views or 250,000 page views a month, I think 80 or 90% of the articles that gained the traffic had the snippet. So having this really snippet focused piece in your article is by far, in my opinion, the most important part. And you do this by just writing very precise and straightforward, and only really answering the question. No straying away, no small talk or anything of the sort, just straightforward answer. And from there, it's covering the main topic. So your title could be something, and then the very first subheading is all about the title. And from there, I usually either think for myself what the next most logical question would be that a reader could have, or I go to the people also ask question section in Google, which also gives a lot of good potential topics. So for me, it's really just those parts put together, and then adding nice pictures, nice tables, nice graphs, bolding parts, adding quotes, just making it look better and read better. And for me, that's basically as close to a perfect post you can get.
So when you create that, so you come up with your topic, and then most likely the headline involves at least some iteration of the keyword, right? Like the keyword is probably in there in the headline somewhere. And then right after the headline, do you do an introduction, or do you do just jump right for what you would want the snippet to pick up?
What I always do is I start with like a very small introduction, maybe 1 or 2 sentences. Then I move into the part that is focused on the snippet, and then just a small section that lets the reader know that I have more to share. And this is
So
really the standard income school approach, basically.
that's interesting. So then you have the first header. I assume it's an H2 because I would probably put an H2
Oh yeah,
there.
after those 3 paragraphs, that's H2. Yeah.
And then you answer the question, or you like really try hard to get at what it is that person was after, right? Like whatever
Yeah.
it was. Like if the keyword is, I'm looking at my neighbor's house, like roof shingles, because that's what I can see. And so whatever it is, like that is where that information goes right at the top. Like you don't save it, you don't put it at the bottom. It's just like right there.
Yeah.
And so then what words do you use? So you have the snippet, like header, like the H2, answer, then answer the question. And then what kind of text do you use to encourage them to click on the link to the article if it's in the snippet? Like, what do you say? Like,
well, I basically give all the information up front. And I don't really, in the snippet part, I don't really have any section that encourages people to read on. It's just that's the most straightforward answer, and that's what people are looking for. And when they read a snippet, that's what they want. So I'm basically just hoping, or hoping isn't the right word, but I'm just hoping that they click through to the actual article.
Do you have any tips for what people could do, or maybe you see is working for you in order to get people to click beyond the snippet? Because if you just kick ass at the snippet, that's great, but we don't earn any money, right? If they just read
No,
the
it doesn't.
snippet. So how do you get them from the snippet? Otherwise, like, what's the point of winning it, right? We got to get them to our website somehow from the snippet. And
yeah,
how
right.
do
So
you do that?
for me, the point of winning it is you don't need to have a very established site. Snippets can be won pretty easily, actually, at least in my experience. And yeah, honestly, I don't really do anything to make sure that they click through. I just know that a good portion, usually around half of the people, I believe the statistic was 65% clicks through. Well, that's what I'm going after.
So then let's think. Well, then let's think about it. Why would someone, like, we'll just think about it logically. Like, why would someone click after getting their question answered? Like, why would they read on? And you say, okay,
because I think a snippet is very short and no fluff. There isn't really any detail, and I do think people want details. And that's also why I don't include any enticing parts in the snippet itself, because either the snippet will become too long, so it won't get picked up, or it is short enough, but there's fluff in there, so it doesn't even get the snippet.
And so then, as far, I hate the word optimize, right? Like my air quotes, like optimize, but I guess the things then you could try to do if you wanted people to go on is to either, because the snippet, I think, does it show the URL, or does it show the title of the article that where that comes from?
Yeah.
And so then you could think, okay, well, what does my title of this article say?
Yeah, so you got to have a good title. I skipped over that, but that's obvious. A good title should always be important.
Oh, don't ever assume anything is obvious.
No, I'm learning that now.
I learned a couple weeks ago, to my embarrassment, that there was a difference between the headline, like the title of the article, and title tags. I understood that there was the URL that had, what it said, and then the headline of the article, and I discovered that you could set the title tag to be different than either of those things. And I felt like, all right, I'll follow my sword for that one, guys, because I've been around here for 2 or 3 years and I didn't actually know that. So
yeah, that's what I meant with we always learn new things. We keep on learning.
Oh, checking over in the chat, I see people popping in and out quite a bit, and I see 15 people watching and only 5 thumbs up, guys. So smash the like button, the thumbs up button, the thing. And then we will move on. I want to say hey to who else is rolling in here. There is Sue, hashtag no fluff. That needs to be a shirt, Sue. When you start your own shirts, it will be hashtag no fluff. Who else is here? I'm going up. I'm way behind in the chat because I've been talking with Jasper and totally missing stuff. There's Will
in the chat.
Yeah, 24K Will. And if you don't know Jasper, Will is also recently jumped in on YouTube, and
Oh,
he's
awesome.
got some really good videos. So I really think his channel is going to grow. Will
I'll
says,
make sure to check him out after.
is buying businesses very risky in general because it can only take one tiny change to impact revenue a lot?
Yeah.
I think there are many reasons, but yes.
Yeah,
And then
it's
there's
basically yes.
yes, your business that you spent a whole bunch of money on could disappear on you in basically a blink. Yes, that is definitely one very important reason. I mean, another I think is that there's just there's nothing to like stake it. There's nothing that backs it. There's no gold behind it. I mean, if it's just like out there, like almost like magic, right? And then just like one thing, and it's just like poof, it's just gone, like it never existed.
Yeah, that's weird with online stuff. I mean, buying a house, you can just touch the house, but there's really nothing here.
Yeah. Jeff was talking about Pavin's tool, and he said that it's pretty awesome. And I haven't had a chance to check it out. And Sabine says she agrees, and I forget what it was that she was agreeing about, but thanks. Pavin says that his tool, he gets keywords from Google, Bing, Amazon, and YouTube for alphabet soup. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is helpful for the folks who are using alphabet soup.
Yeah, that's great.
Chris says he's agreeing with Will, but we're looking at it from our perspective. So the people who buy sites are huge investment funds. So $150,000 site is nothing. They probably buy 10 per year, expecting 1 or 2 to fail. I never really thought about that they would be buying sites with the expectation that 20% of them would get slaughtered.
I think it's more of a just know, or how do you say this correctly? I mean, when you're buying 10 sites, I mean, I would expect 1 or 2 to maybe fail eventually. It's what I'm doing, because right now I'm building a lot of websites. I currently got 5, and I'm really trying to build as many as I can, but I do expect a lot of them to just fail, to not really do anything.
Yeah, I guess I don't. I guess I don't at all. I guess I just have this in my mind that...
Yeah, it's not the intention, of course, but...
I guess I think that if I've done all the work into the niche and all the rest, that it's likely, like, I just don't go into it expecting it. Because if I did, then I don't know that I could do it. I honestly don't know that I could go in.
I'm not expecting it to fail, but I do know that eventually something will go wrong, or maybe the site doesn't get traffic, or it gets hammered by a core update like I recently had. It's not something I'm expecting or really aiming for, but it's something I do know that can happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sabine says it's a steep learning curve, and 100%. And hey, woman, I do want to shout you out and say that I've just admired that you keep showing up, and I just really think that you got it if you stick with it. Pavin says about his tool, he says, long story short, I integrated. I'm not the developer. That's cool. Still, I love that people are out there trying new things. I still think that that's awesome. Sabine, is it Sabina? Oh my God. A good friend of mine, her daughter is Sabine. Sabina. I will get this. I promise you. It might take like 3 or 4 live streams, but I will get there.
Sabina, it isn't that hard. That difficult.
You know what? Live streaming, you think that it is easy, but it is not. Like, I'm sweating right now.
Yeah, this is my first time.
You're doing a really good job. You're doing a great job. Adrian says that's why it's good to have different income sources, affiliate ads, digital products, etc. Affiliate email marketing. Have you thought at all about doing email marketing?
Thought, yes, a lot of times actually. So I'm pretty sure it dates back to 2019 as far as that. So when my site was starting to get some traffic, I have been talking about creating an email list or building an email list. And for the next 1.5 years, I just haven't done it. And right now, of course, I'm regretting it because I'm at much lower traffic numbers. And if I build up the list for the whole 1.5 years, I would have had a pretty massive email list, I'm pretty sure. Something I've thought about, but never done yet.
Yes, but now you feel definitely more fired up about it.
Yeah, I'm regretting it right now. Yeah. It's not that I even had a use for it, or at least not yet. I mean, pretty sure if I would sit down and think about it, I would come up with a pretty good thing for my email list. But Yeah, I just never worked on it
Mm-hmm.
for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah, really
hindsight.
stupid.
Yeah, well, now you do. Jeff says, write good content, buzzword. Yeah, it's a buzzword, but I think we addressed some of that. Sabina asks, do you have a target word count, or how do you decide how long to make your article?
Yeah, that's pretty difficult. I usually try to have every article be at least 1,200 words.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the topic, how small it is, how much competition there is, just always 1,200 words. And then depending on the competition, I'll scale it up. So basically, when there's only forums and really small or old websites, or maybe articles with maybe 100 or 200 words, a smaller article for me is fine. So 12 to 1,500 words is great. But once the competition starts going up, my word count will as well. I don't really follow the response staple and Pieterse post that Income School teaches, mainly because I never really could keep to those word counts. I would always go way over or way under. So right now I'm just doing it on my own feelings. Yeah, just assess your competition, and when there's large websites or very in-depth articles, try to one-up them with more information.
Mm-hmm. Are you still a part of the Income School community?
Yeah,
So
I'm
what
still
do
in
you
there.
think? I have not like looked at any of their content. I haven't watched the videos, but I've heard from a lot of people that they're changing their approach. Do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts about their new content or their revised course or the things that they're doing differently?
Yeah, so there isn't really anything known as of yet
Mhm.
what will be changing, but I do think it's good that they are changing because, well, we're in a very fast business space too. So yeah, them changing their approach, I think it's beneficial. It will teach us new things and new approaches, and I'm pretty sure they tested all of their new teachings beforehand.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm just not sure what they will change. I know they are taking away one of the article types, so bidder staple response.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think I heard they are gravitating towards lower word counts instead of more words, uh, on which I do partly agree, but not totally. Yeah, it's just there isn't much known as of now, so I don't really know what will be changing.
Yeah, well, I agree with you as far as the and other people are like, oh, like don't worry necessarily about the word count. I remember when I first got started a couple of years ago, like longer is better was
Mhm.
basically like the mantra. Like everybody on YouTube was like, just write it as long as you can possibly write it. The biggest guide that you can. I think Brian Dean with his like 30,000 word, blog posts, like he's out here killing everybody with
30,000?
this. I'm making the number up. It was gigantic. It
Okay,
was like
okay.
like literally like a book, right? That he had that he's like, just write it as long as possible. And then now it's sort of like snapping back and either focusing on content that is okay to be shorter or
Mhm.
content that is really focused. In the chat, I see Pavin says ideal 1,200 to 1,500. So I think even though people are not necessarily writing long, I think a lot of us, there's still a focus on trying to get at least a minimum number. Like, is there
Yeah.
any number you said, oh, well, I tried to aim for 1,200. I think you said 1,200.
Yeah, 1,200 is basically my minimum. Sometimes I'm a little bit lower, but around 1,200 is what I'm always aiming for.
But what if the topic is not broad enough to get to 1,200 words without fluff? Because I hit this last week where I was in there and I was like, I felt myself like just reaching. I'm like, this topic is done, but it is not 1,000 words.
Yeah, so I started a new website in December right after the core update, and a few of those articles I had the same thing happening. That I was at 700 words, and I'm like, what else can I write about this? But yeah, that's where the people also ask section comes in for me. And at the point where you're just only adding fluff, it's time to just cut it off and just go with the 900 words you've got.
Mhm.
If
That's what I've
that's the
started
most
doing.
in depth it can be, then you can't really improve on it anymore.
Sue says, just talking to Sabina, just not worrying so much about the word count and focusing on eliminating fluff and just focusing on the concise information. So I totally
Mm-hmm.
agree with this. Better to write a perfect 700 word article than write fluff. So better to be 700 words than 1,500 that is just stuff that either is irrelevant, right? So it's
Yeah, no,
not
I
on
agree with it.
topic, or it's just somebody get into it and be like, yeah, Yeah.
No, I mean, writing fluff is never a good thing in my opinion. It's definitely better to have a 700-word relevant article than a 1,500-word somewhat relevant article with a lot of fluff. That's what I meant with just cut it off when you can't really add anything helpful anymore. But usually there are a few things, for very small things, that could push up the word count maybe, and that are actually helpful for the article. So don't just give up after like 10 minutes of thinking, what can I add? And you can't come up with anything. Just give it an in-depth look. Just treat it as an actual helpful and important article.
All right. So let's say you are at 700-800 words. You're like, I would like to get this longer. Like, where do you go to get ideas then? You just sit there and think on the topic, like, or do you put yourself in the shoes of the user, or do you go and use a tool? Like, where do you come up with ideas then to write more?
Yeah, I don't really use any tools for that. I usually put myself in the shoes of the reader, and that isn't always as helpful. But it could give you some questions. I also often ask friends. They usually have a very different view on a topic, so maybe they can come up with something. And once again, the people also ask questions, and the related searches in Google, they always give a good indication. And if there's really nothing, then there's no point in adding anything more.
You know, one of the places I've gone actually is Quora, and then search something on that topic, and then you see either on the right or at the bottom, once you go into a question, that a lot of times there's a bunch of other questions there that are related, maybe phrased a different way, or add other keywords in there that I wouldn't have thought of. So I've actually been going there more lately.
Oh, that's a great approach. I mean, for us, like Reddit, Quora, pretty sure that there's a lot of information or weird or helpful questions, actually. Yeah.
In the chat a few minutes ago, I saw our good friend, Niche Informer, that's Jesse, who popped in, and then Chris called him out for not having posted any videos lately. And I realized that, yeah, I haven't seen any videos lately, and I'm wondering how Jesse is. Jesse is crushing it. Jesse actually quit his full-time job in December
Awesome.
to go full-time online. And
well, congrats.
yeah, it's a big deal. I met Jesse last year just on the podcast and doing this. And then Jesse was like, oh, it's going to be forever before I quit. And then he did, like within a year's time. So I've been super excited to watch him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So whenever I see him, in the chat, I want to shout him out because I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. I mean, going full-time is a big deal. A really big deal.
His said search term plus forum which is actually something that I had not thought of, and that's a great idea. He also says Brian Dean is an alien, and I did not know that.
Me neither. That's new for me, but
all right. Sabina says, okay. Now, when do you start that second site? If you have one site and you're working on it, maybe it's your first site. When do you start that next site?
Oh, that's very difficult. It really depends on your situation. So when you're just starting out and you don't have any money to reinvest, I wouldn't start a new site until the first one is making some good money. So maybe $1,000 a month. I wouldn't even look at starting a second site before that. But once you're growing a bit, yeah, that's the difficult part, because I'm also in favor of starting a new website when you're letting your original one just sit and gain some time and gain some rankings. So yeah, it's still, I'm not decided on what's the best approach yet.
Well, ultimately, you don't have to, right? I mean,
no, you don't even have to, no.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us is a guru, right? Like we're a guru. Like we're here pretty much just trying it out. I can speak to Sabina from my personal experience, which is don't get started on the second site until you have figured out what will make the first one successful. So if you're plugging along at that first site and you haven't figured out the special combination that draws people in, that you haven't figured out how to make money with it, and you don't see like a trajectory that is going in the right direction, then it is not time to start another site because you haven't learned what you need to learn on the first project. And I just speak from experience because I did that. Right. So instead of like starting one site and learning on it and learning everything that I needed to know to be successful on the second one, I just started another one and then another one. And guess what? None of those,
Another
not
one.
just the first one didn't work out, but it was the first, second, third one that it didn't work because I hadn't learned enough. I hadn't done enough. Like I hadn't found that combination of what was going to work. I just moved on because I wasn't seeing the progress that I wanted to see. So, you say, well, is it me? Is it you or is it me? Right. And it turns out it was me and I needed to do some more work. So, getting to $1,000 a month, that's a great goal. It could be maybe $100 a month.
Yeah, it's just some sort of milestone that you actually know what you're doing is working.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just very important, and you got to set that for yourself. I mean, we can't really decide what's good for you, but I do think that there has to be some point that you have to reach before you're starting a new site, and that's basically mainly for beginners. I think for people that are just starting out. Because I've been thinking about starting like a new website every quarter, just dump content on there, good content, of course, but just pump it full of content and just let it sit. And while it's sitting, just start the next one. But that's because I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. Not that I'm an expert, but I had some success, so I know what to do to replicate that. But if I'm in a position that I'm just starting out or I haven't really seen any success with a website, I just focus on the first one.
I think it's great. I actually think that's a good point. You say, well, I know what it is to put good content on a site. If you understand what to you good means, then that is a great time to put content on a site and let it sit. I think that's something that you can start as many sites as you want in a year at that point, once you understand how to do it, right? But if you still haven't developed the how to do it, then it's not time yet.
But I also do think that how much money you're making with your sites plays a role, because if you have 5 websites, that are 5 websites that you alone need to write for. But if you've got money coming in, you can hire writers or use content services. The more sites you start, the more time it will take.
I lost you there for a second, and so I'm just sitting here like waiting for the lag to catch up, and then you're like peacefully like,
Oh yeah, I was waiting for you too. No, but I said that the more sites you're starting without seeing any monetary results, the more time it will take for you to actually write content yourself. Unless you've got money to hire writers, it's going to be pretty difficult to manage 5 websites on your own.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and I see and I know that you have a YouTube channel you recently started to just chronicle this journey. But I'm wondering, are you doing YouTube for any of your other sites, or do you have plans to?
I haven't yet, and I'm not sure I will. Yeah, so that's a pretty difficult question, actually. I thought about starting a YouTube channel for my primary website. So I bought all the equipment in May of 2020, I believe, and then I just didn't do anything. So it wasn't until the core update hit that I actually got into YouTube. And for now, so my main goal right now is to grow this channel. And the thing is, I want to keep my sites private. I don't really like sharing my niches and putting my face out there when I have the goal to grow this. So my face will be known as a website maker, just to say it easily. But yeah, just to link that face to several niches, I'm not sure if that's the way to go for me.
So did this happen in May? Like, was that what derailed you last year in May? Because you said you bought all the equipment and then you went, like, just never went anywhere.
No, that's just camera shyness and me just not wanting to start.
Yeah,
so,
but here you are. You said that you're camera
here
shy.
I am.
Yeah, what inspired you finally? Was it just the pain of the suffering, the algorithm?
It was a core update that dropped me everywhere and me realizing I need to diversify.
Awesome.
That's really what started it, though. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, well, I honestly just want to say I can't honestly tell that this is maybe uncomfortable for you. I think you're doing just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting better. I have a few private videos that those are pretty awkward.
Well, I will just admit, like, straight up, that I've been slowly going back to my YouTube library and just making private, like, 1 or 2 videos at a time, just like slowly sneaking them away so that like squirreling them. I haven't like deleted them outright, but like slowly just squirreling some of those away because I watch them and I'm like,
Yeah, no doubt I'll do this. I'll do the same.
well, to be fair though, you shouldn't get rid of the like the income reports and like the
No, I
progress
don't plan
ones
on doing those. No.
because those are great and nobody cares they just want to know what happened. Like what happened?
Yeah, yeah, that's the same because I really like watching those income reports from people.
I
Really
find
don't
them
care whether there's this most camera shy person or a super movie star or something. I don't really care. Just the journey is fun to follow.
absolutely. There's Chris, and he says every site teaches a new lesson, and yeah, still happening to me
Yeah,
every single time.
yeah, that won't go away, I think.
All right, so then let's talk about new sites. Can you think of something that you just learned recently on one of your new sites? Like, what's a lesson that you have received? I guess I don't know if that's the right word, but what is something that you've learned recently, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't know that.
Yeah, so on my first site, when I was doing my research on topics to write about, I just went ahead and wrote everything. And in December, I started a new website, and I really started to learn that some topics just are not worth writing about. They just don't make sense because they might get like 10 page views a month, but they take up a few hours of your time. So that's really what I'm learning right now. That's, yeah, not everything is worth writing about.
Well, how do you identify that?
I mean, that's just common, or how do you say that? Just a feeling. Because sometimes you're going so in depth, maybe a very specific function of a very specific product that you did originally want to write about, but it's just so niche down that yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, you definitely have to weigh the effort, right? Like putting
Yeah.
in because you say, okay, well, it's just my time, right? It's not money. But at the
Hmm.
same time, like your time does have value. You could be spending that time writing another post or maybe spending time with your family or
Yeah.
doing like riding your bicycle.
Just doing anything basically. I mean, 10 page views a month doesn't really make a difference at all. So I'd say anything, any time spent is better.
Mhm. So, are you working a job still or going to school at all, or is this like it?
This is it. I did go to college, but after, yeah, in the first year I didn't have my website. The second year I started it, and I was seeing some pretty fast results. So at the end of the very first or the second year of college, I just decided to go after it full time, just give it 1 year, see where it goes. And yeah, in that 1 year, I built it out to the 250,000 page views a month with a pretty decent income. So it really didn't really cross my mind to go back.
So, when the algorithm hammered you and you lost 80%, did you regret at all your decision to leave college, or is it like no regrets, no looking back?
No, not really. I'm pretty confident in myself to just turn it around. Maybe not with this site, maybe not with sites in general, but I'm pretty sure I'll figure something out that will work for me.
Hmm. I mean, you've already seen that it's possible, right?
Yeah, and I do also know that one update can hit you, but it can also take just one update to revert it. So
Yeah. Did you
yeah, there
see any
hasn't been a
positive? Sorry.
sorry.
No, I was gonna say I just like couldn't stop myself. I was like, oh, the the Google update about the product reviews in the last week. Did you see any positive like rollback for
No,
your?
no, it's just a steady flow of the lower numbers, of course. But
Mhm,
I did see one of my because in the interview we talked about that my content was being outranked by a few better websites because
mhm.
my this was my first one, English for Sports and stuff. But I did see that one of the largest competitors has dropped even lower than me right now. So that's, I mean, it's not nice, of course, for them, but it does get me hopeful to see that above me really right now are just forums and really spammy old websites.
Mhm.
So that kind of indicates to me that Google is messing up in some proportions. And that it also shows me that maybe tomorrow or maybe in a month's time, I'm back at the top.
Have you thought at all about building links?
No, never. I never really thought about it.
And it's like as like a solution maybe for the site that you worked on so much. You think it could links be the problem?
I'm not sure. I never actively built links,
Mhm.
and I never really known the benefit of it. All I keep hearing are bad stories about building links and how you can get penalized. So it's just something I'm staying away from. And especially with this larger website, I don't really want to take the chance. Maybe it does work, or maybe I get penalized and just stomp to the ground forever. So for me, it doesn't really. Yeah, it's not, the risk is too high for the reward for me.
You know, that's interesting because we tend to adopt, I think I don't want to say opinions, but we tend to surround ourselves with people who think kind of like we do. And so you say, "Oh, I
Hmm.
only hear stories from people where links did bad things to them." And then I live in this other world where I am surrounded by people who build links and have, for the most part, if they do it the right way, only good things like happening to them, where they say, "Oh, I regularly build links, regularly do guest posts and all the rest." And then, they're only posting, and I trust their results because I talk to them, and
Hmm.
so I just think it's really interesting. And I don't know if it's because a lot of your community is the income school community, and income school is like no
No
links,
link building. No.
like don't touch it, your site will explode. And then those people come to other communities, they're like, "Oh my God, like how could you do that?" And it's like everybody's doing it, and it's
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's funny because everybody does it a different way.
mhm,
And it does seem to work. Like both approaches seem to work.
mhm.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure. I never really dabbled with it and want to try it out, but not with any of my existing websites.
I think that's fair. I mean, and that's the cool thing about this, right? Is that everybody pretty much works for themselves. And so if they want
Yep.
to adopt a specific strategy, they can. They don't have to ask for permission to do it, right? Like, I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it,
Yeah, just buy a domain name and put it on your Bluehost and just
and
just try it out.
then see what happens.
Yeah, who knows?
There is Steven rolling in. Hey, what is going on? And yes, only you,
15
it's
minutes late.
yeah, no, it's cool though. It's good to see Steven drop in. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out to the chat. I have not heard or seen any accountability posts out there from the folks in the chat today. So I would love to know before we ring off here at the top of the hour, like how the last week went, and also what you want to get done in the next week. Because I don't know, I think a lot of people who started out our monthly like accountability group, a lot of people are starting to fall off. A lot of people are headed towards summer. There are a lot of like they're just not as I guess, consistent about giving us some updates. And so if that's you, it's okay to admit it. I don't see Paul
Oh,
here
that was
today.
me.
And yeah, Paul, if you are here on the replay, I'm still looking for your next video. I'm not giving up on you. I know that you're out there and I want to know what you did in the last week. I just do. There is Steven. He's asking, have any of your Amazon reviews been hit? I have not noticed any of my Amazon reviews going any which direction, one way or another. But I will say that one of my sites that did get hit in December did see a boost last week, and it's not even a
Awesome.
site that has Amazon reviews on it. So
That's weird.
so it's really interesting. It's just to watch like the bouncing. Like I have a feeling it's not just the reviews, like just targeting at reviews or posts that have Amazon links on them. In the Affiliate Lab Facebook group, there was a lot of people in there who were talking about how they had gotten large boosts in traffic, and then other people who were like, bad day, like total tears, like total slaughter. But it's mostly in that group. I haven't heard a lot of other people talking about having seen really big impacts.
Yeah, no, I did notice my competitor, he dropped, and he's also in Project 24, I noticed. And 4 days ago, he posted in the community saying that he got hit pretty hard. I mean, it's going around.
Mm-hmm. Like COVID, it's going around.
Yeah.
Margaret says she's still grinding and she does a really good job of being consistent. And I aspire to be you, my
Awesome.
dear. Chris says no impacts to him. He like always just seems to ride. It's just like,
Oh, I'm jealous. I'm really jealous.
he's like, thank God. I'm like, yeah. And then he thinks he's funny. He says, don't touch links or your site will explode. That sometimes is what it feels like they're talking about over at Income School. Jeff
Yeah,
says,
it definitely does.
mm-hmm. He says he's got 2 articles posted, added pins, which is great. I'm working on interlinking, which is something I'm also working on, and watched a ton of videos as I'm trying to get better at search analysis. I think
Awesome.
that Chris's videos are good on this. Who do you consume any YouTube content for search? Just
I'm getting
like
into
search
it.
skills. Who
I
do you follow?
used to just follow Income School, but now that I'm starting my own YouTube channel in this space, I'm really just looking at as many people as I can. As of now, I don't really know. I'm really just getting familiar with all the names. So I did watch WP Eagle, of course you.
I don't do hard. I'm not the don't learn from me. I don't post hardly anything about search.
No, but yeah, I don't really find that many search analysis videos as of yet. I haven't really found them.
I'm sure you will. Like RIP your inbox if you like made the call out for people and said, show me your videos. People like,
Oh, go ahead. I mean, I'm open for anything. Just show me.
oh, I wanted to tell you too that after our podcast chat last week, I actually sent Ann Moss, the gal that you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
I sent her a message. I just said, hey, I just talked to this gentleman who I really enjoyed, and she's going to listen to the podcast.
Oh, awesome.
So I
That's
wonder
awesome.
if that could potentially lead to like a connection later on down the road.
Oh, who
I just
knows?
thought
I
it was
mean,
cool.
that's something for the chat as well. If you don't know Ann Moss, you should really read her website. I mean, if you just want to learn about the whole blogging and scaling up, she's the best resource I found.
That's awesome. The chat is awake all of a sudden. It was like quiet for a while.
Awesome.
Chris wants to know if Steven's reviews got hit. Sue says she's been crap at filling in the website, and you have. But as long as you're writing, like honestly, as long as you're writing at least something every day, then I don't care if you fill in the spreadsheet. Like the goal is progress, and then I'll be here no matter what. So an article per week so far this month. Good on you. Steve says, I don't publish many reviews. Seen a little uptick this last week. Interesting. And reached 5,000 page views in one day. I love these
That's
little
awesome.
just like
Oh,
5,000 pages
that's
in a
great.
day. What a
I mean,
great
5,000 is a lot in one day.
Yeah, Chris agrees. He says that would bring in revenue. Is anybody using conversion.ai? And I will tell you that I got sucked in a little bit to like the hype, like people talking about it, and I signed up for it. And then before I could play with it at all, I canceled it. I was like, oh my God, this is a shiny object. I'm being distracted. I'm not writing content. So I deleted my account before I even tried it. So I wasted my free trial and everything.
Oh.
Have you used Conversion AI at all, or has anybody in the chat used it? Any
No,
desire to?
I've been getting my emails blasted by a lot of people. I mean, Carl Broadbent, he's been really sharing Conversion AI. I'm not really sure. It just feels weird to me. I'd rather hire an actual person as a writer than a AI.
Yeah, man, it seems interesting, right? And somebody made the argument to me, it's like the race for the bottom, right? Everybody else is doing it, and then how are you going to keep up with somebody who can pump out unlimited content using AI for what, $100 a month or something? You're like, and then you go and spend $10,000 on writers, and they're spending $100 a month. Like, how could it's time to go start a YouTube channel at that point? Because
I mean, are there any actual results of people starting websites purely with this AI and actually seeing results, or?
I don't know that for sure. I'll throw that question to the chat. If anybody knows of anybody doing just a straight up case study of doing conversion.ai for all their content, I would be happy to point other people to that. I don't have plans to do one, even though I think it would be interesting. I just feel like it's a shiny object.
Yeah. And I do think that an actual person will always be able to write a better, more like a heartfelt article, something that's actually real. It's just kind of difficult to describe, I think, but actual people are a much better option for me.
Well, I'm just going to believe that. I'm just going to put that in my heart and just not even think about the possibility that what you're saying is wrong. I'm just going to assume and not worry about it, because if I worried about it, then I don't know that I would want to keep doing this.
No, yeah, but it does seem interesting, especially if there's a free trial. I mean, you can always try. No.
Pavan says he removed Ezoic and went back to AdSense, and I am curious as to why and what the results were. Sue says that she switched her goals and that they've been really positive, which I'm so glad, because I feel like you were really struggling to get to the computer. And I think that struggle, then you it's like feels like another fail. Like not only you're not producing content, but then you haven't met your goals. So just adjusting what is realistic for you. I think that's a great way to just like keep moving forward.
Yeah, you got to motivate yourself however you do it.
But what works for you, and not really comparing yourself to what other people are doing. Like Jasper has a gigantic goal for the month of April. I mean, I don't know if he's going to meet it, but like I can't write that.
Oh, you read the goal. I mean, I'm halfway there as of now, and we're just a little under halfway through the month. So I'm pretty sure I'll reach it. But this would be my largest content month.
Remind me, how many words of content were you trying to get out this month?
120,000 words.
Yeah, I'm like...
Yeah, but that does include videos. So every 2 times every year, Income School holds this challenge, Content Challenge, and it's usually to reach 60,000 words in 1 month. And I just decided to double it. I mean, I got lots of time on my hands, lots of websites, lots of big goals. So why not double it, go for 120,000 words?
Steven says that he has realized that choosing the right niche is very important. My EPMV is only $6. Yikes. So you did all that work and built it up to 5,000 page views a month, and then you're only earning $6 per 1,000 page views. That does.
Yeah, I do have a Dutch website with also $6 EPMV. It's not fun, but
I have one. The EPMV right now is $4.
4, that's even worse.
Yes. Yes, it is. And it's really painful to have this site that is like a couple of years old and then start a new site, and it's 2.5, 3.5 months old, and it's already almost earning more. And you're like, I just want to
but still it's extra money. I mean, are you still actively working on that site, or? No,
I like mentally, I put it in the garage. It's like a project site, but it comes back to this whole thing about only being able to really work on 1 or 2 sites at a time. So like starting a new site drew away my focus from the old site.
Yeah.
And so now I don't focus on that site. And so that site doesn't improve because that's my fault, because I would much rather work on this other shiny object that's just so cool right now.
Relatable, yeah.
But to be fair, the reason I want to work on the new site is I thought that the EPMV was going to settle around $10, and I was like, oh, not as high as I would have liked, but still better than 4.
Yeah,
and
4 is really low.
It's because the articles on the site that Google has picked up are the least valuable of all of them. There's so much content that could get better ad revenue if it sent traffic to it, but those ones don't rank.
That sucks.
Yep. But the new site, I've had on Ezoic, I just go check the big data analytics like 1 or 2 every other day or something. And so the EPMV has been bouncing around between like $9 and $28.
28.
So I thought it was going to be around 10, but I've started having some of these days where it's like 17 and then 9 and then 28 and then 9. And so the ad tester is doing its thing, and I'm like, maybe.
Who knows? Yeah.
I know, maybe.
But 28 is a lot. I don't even have that on AdThrive.
I know, right? And it was my first, the new site, my Make the Internet Great Again site. It made my first $1 day. So the site is 14 weeks old, and I made a first $1 in ad revenue like in 1 day.
It's
made like, yeah, no, I was like, right, I better.
Yeah, I mean,
it's about time to create a $997 course, because.
Yeah, that's the best way to make money. Just sell courses.
Sabita says lots of moms in the blog space are losing 80 to 90% of their traffic because it was from Pinterest. So what's going on over at Pinterest where all of a sudden people are getting slaughtered on Pinterest? Like, did I miss like an update over there? Somebody tell me. Like,
yeah, this is the first time I hear this too.
Yeah, like what just happened? Are they just not like losing their accounts, or like I'm like lost? Jeff says for search videos. So he said Niche Safari Chris and then WP Eagle and Sean Mars. Yeah, Sean and Alex are both working really hard. You got
I'll
a
have
new
to check them out.
subscriber just now.
Oh, thank you.
Rand Fishkin. I don't know this gentleman, but now I would be interested in learning about him. Anne's domain name. People are asking, what was it like?
I did share it in the chat.
You did down lower.
Yeah.
Was it yes or something like that?
Yeah, it's yeys.com.
Got it.
I never know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, me either. But Adrian says, slow week, too tired. That happens. We just saddle up and then work on next week. Yes, congratulations, Steve. Jeff says about conversion.ai, says using it. And yes, it is a shiny object.
Yeah, thanks for confirming.
He says giving it 30 days. I think that's a fair test. That's a fair test. Adrian says he wrote an article using AI and Surfer and Common Sense, of course, and it was interesting. So, like, was the article good? Like, was it something you would say people should invest their time and money in? Like, I'm waiting for that, right? Like somebody who says that, and I really trust what their opinion was. Oh, I love the accountability posts, guys. Keep those coming. He says, I was busy developing a theme for the past 2 weeks, got a page speed of 99%. So is that with ads or without? Because it seems like if you're not running ads, that it's possible to get green, lots of green scores, but with ads, that is always the challenge.
Yeah, that's really difficult.
Jeff says he agrees with you, but I don't know what he was agreeing with you about.
Me neither. But thanks for agreeing.
Chris says they must have a good affiliate program. So we're talking about conversion.ai. It could be that right now.
I read that they have a really high commission.
What is it? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but don't quote me on this, but I believe it was like 30%.
That's not like out of the range of the normal for SaaS products.
No, it isn't out of the range of normal, but it's still a lot. And 30 could push people to just promote it, even if they don't believe in it.
Well, if it's recurring, right? So it's not just 30% on the first sale, but if they sign up at $100 a month and then you get
pretty sure it was recurring.
Yeah, I could see why people would be fired up about that. Then the question is, will AI writing give rise to more PBNs? And I think yes, because it would be so easy to create.
It makes it much easier.
Like so easy to. So yes, I think yes. KB loves karma. Thanks for dropping in. Is Conversion AI is a glorified article spinner, and you are so right.
That's basically what an AI does, right? It just reads other articles and makes its own version.
Yeah.
That's why I always want to have actual people writing my articles, because they have their own experiences. It's not just a jumbled mess of other people's experiences.
Well, not only that, but sometimes the information that the AI is using is incorrect.
Yeah, true.
And so then if you don't know the niche and you're just taking content from elsewhere, it may not be correct and you have no way to know.
No, that's why it never really crossed my mind to use it.
Sue says she did a month on it, but the niche didn't agree with it. Did try it with some other prompts and was impressed with what it spat out. So when you say other prompts, are you talking about like using it for your emails, or are you talking about headlines? Like what other part of it did you like? I'm curious. Adrian says it's a learning curve, but it takes up too much time. I will stick with writers. I'm with you there. Jeff says there are few making bank with their affiliate program. I mean, and there's like, I'm totally fine with people making money. Like this isn't a criticism, because I recommend affiliate products sometimes.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I got a link to Ezoic and Bluehost in my description. Yeah,
same. Well, I don't know if there's is in this video, but if somebody wants it, I'll give it to you.
I'll give it as well.
Sue says that she would use it to get things flowing rather than doing everything. It's nowhere near ready for that yet. So, I mean, that's a good point. People who are having a hard time getting started could run it through conversion.ai and then use that as a template or a foundation.
Yeah, that's one use I do think an AI actually has, is making just a very rough outline. just just the structure. But once again, like the structure could just be completely wrong and using wrong information. So it's always debatable. But it's for an outline, I do think it has some use.
Steve says, it's interesting that everyone is promoting artificial content and then Google does an update promoting better quality or original content.
Coincidence, right?
I just see Anthony, that's Tortoise Cashflow, dropping in. And Jasper, Anthony is another guy who is like, I totally respect. He recently had his first $1,000 month, so he's just working full time. And I think Anthony usually can't drop in on the live streams all that well because he's actually working right now, but he listens to us chat and then works on his websites in the evening and on the weekends. And yeah, had his first $1,000 month, which is.
I saw his video in my recommended. I had yet to click on it, but I was going to watch it.
Yes, well, I can't recommend what
he's very active in website YouTube channels.
Yeah, no, his channel is a good one. Will says, conversion AI helps me write content for one of my sites, but not the other. Not sure if I will keep it. He says it's good for filling in articles, but you still need to do the original research and add it. I think if you're going to be using it, that you still need to do that. Like you almost have a moral responsibility to do that.
You got to fact check it at least. Just rewrite some portions. And yeah. And I don't think an AI will ever, or they probably will sometime, but in the near future, I don't think they can just make ready to publish articles that you don't need to change anything.
Well, and that's the thing, is like Google ever going to be able to do the fact checking, right? Because ultimately the AI spinner could get better and better and better and better, but then like who's right and who makes the decision that the article is right or correct?
Yeah.
Like,
that's difficult.
Like
it's really, really difficult.
Starting to blow my mind there. Sabina says, I have the same mindset about AI. If I think about it too much, I don't know why I would keep going. Yeah, because if you thought that AI would just do it all, then you're like, well, then what's the point? She did say she did their open content warrior challenge, and it was great feedback for a newbie. And I say congratulations on having the courage to jump in and ask for feedback.
They were pretty spot on. They didn't really sugarcoat it, so pretty cool that you participated.
Steven says he's learning the skills that can be applied to new sites. I've got a few ideas for more, and I feel like it's like I constantly have this like list going where I'm like, ooh, like that would be good. I'm like, ooh, that would be good. It's like
Same here.
You just have to like stop. You're like, okay, that could maybe
I got one of my 1,000 spreadsheets, which is a list of niches, ideas, possible affiliate programs. I don't know, just so many ideas. Yeah.
So then like this is the call out to the chat. Who will admit to having many spreadsheets? Like,
I mean, I know you're lying if you don't say yes.
Because I have so many spreadsheets, like so many Excel spreadsheets, I cannot even tell you.
Yeah, I got 5 for websites, then 2 for my writers, 1 for niches. There's so many.
I see Chris who says AI content feels like black hat content writing, and it is.
Yeah.
Google doesn't want it, and even OpenAI, who invented it, says it should not be used for full articles. Is it as risky as building backlinks? I guess I hadn't really thought of it, right? Because Google supposedly will slaughter sites that are doing black hat things. And so if somebody is building their site using AI, I mean, how is Google going to tell? And then once they can tell, I mean,
Google can't really tell. I think
maybe the keywords yet.
Yeah, yet probably a year ago, I found a website that was basically spinning my articles. They really just took my words and used synonyms. So I was actually contacting WPX to take them down with the DMCA. And an actual person was reading my article alongside his article, and he said, these aren't the same. So if actual people can't really tell that an AI is spinning content, I'm not sure how an AI will know that an AI is spinning content.
I mean, that would be the good argument for putting in, like taking unique photos of yourself, right? So somebody's stealing your content plus your photo. You're like, look, that's me.
Yeah, but he took the photos out. He just spun all my my text.
And also including like personal narrative type stuff.
Yeah. He basically just copy pasted my article in some sort of spinner, and it just took synonyms. And the funny thing is that even some synonyms, they just didn't really fit the sentence. I don't really have an example, but it was really
I know
weird
what you
to
mean.
just read. Yeah.
Renat says that he has a site that is $60 to $7 EPMV, and I basically like.
I would never let it go. That's awesome.
I not only that, but I don't know that I would ever even admit to it, because I feel like I would be opening myself up to people on YouTube are like, we got to figure out who this guy is to figure out what niche this is and like how to reverse engineer it. I feel like I'd have it under my hat and I just wouldn't admit to it.
Yeah, keep it secret.
Keep it secret, keep it safe.
But you can always inbox me. Just kidding, of course.
Sabina says that people are on Pinterest. People are losing their accounts, but also something happened with the algorithm, and there's like shopping links around trying to ship people. People are losing. All right. Well, there's something going on Pinterest, and I seem to lose a Pinterest account like once every couple months and then get it back. So I haven't paid too much attention over there, but it sounds like carnage and makes me glad that I didn't invest any time.
Same
It says shifting there. So they're getting rid of people, but also trying to keep users on Pinterest. Interesting. Pavan says,
I think they're getting rid of people that are causing people to leave Pinterest.
So people who are clicking away
or linking to their blogs.
So people have like their content is too good on Pinterest. They're trying to
basically
prevent. Got it. Now that's a bummer.
At least that's what I'm thinking.
Voice to text. Haha, strikes again. Yeah, following the footprints of Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, in the beginning it was like Pinterest was great because they really wanted to be this place where you could get the information so you could go off and do the other things. And now they're like, we got to make some money.
Yeah.
We got stockholders. Pavan's theme is fast without ads. Let's see what it is like. Do you know what the scores are when you have ads on it? I'm curious. Let's see. He says about conversion.ai. I'm sorry, Jasper. I realized it's like we're 15 minutes over and I'm still like 10 minutes behind in the chat. Let me know if you have to go.
No problem. No problem.
He says the article that he had is good, but depends on the niche. You have to do lots of fact checking and research. Got it. Anthony says, yeah, I saw your message over there. It's like 10 minutes ago when I got to it. He was watching Meet Kevin go over Coinbase. You know, I have not followed that hardly at all, but I'm a big fan of Meet Kevin. I don't know how
he's amazing.
I don't know how he pushes out 3 videos a day. Like that's.
I'm pretty sure. I'm convinced his days last 50 hours.
Yeah, well, he just sits
so
there.
Much done.
I think he gets up, goes straight to his studio, and stays there all day. And like his wife is like putting food under the door.
Yeah, but he's also buying real estate and doing other things. It's insane.
But I mean, it takes me like 6 hours to make a 7-minute YouTube video.
Yeah, same.
So I don't know. I just don't know how he's doing it.
Yeah, but he's pretty good at it. I mean, when you're looking at his videos, most don't really have any cuts. It's just one straight talk. I mean, I can't do that yet.
Me either.
Of course.
Neither. Sue says that she experimented with the blog post outline and blog post intro paragraph. So if you put the post title in, then take one heading at a time. All right. Well, that's a good recommendation for how to use it. Renat says AI does almost the same. Calling it like it is. Most tired writers, they get their research on the internet and then rewrite it.
That is partly true, yeah.
Many of
the writers.
Most.
Most.
And I think that there are probably those of us who do that. I admit to having done it before.
Me too. When I first started out, it was all I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Google can tell when you apply for AdSense because manual approval is there. It says AI writing grows more penalties that are going to be deadly, and the writer should know the difference between car and carpet. We should, especially if the English, like if you're writing in English, that's your first language. And end of the day, yeah. Oh. And then Anthony says 3 videos. He does 5 or 6 now. Yeah, it's absurd. It's incredibly absurd.
Yeah, that's insane.
All right, folks. Well, I'm headed toward. I think I've finally caught up with the chat. I think finally
Yeah, I
caught
got
up
the
with
chat open. This was the last one.
Yeah. So if anybody has anything else they want to say to Jasper, especially thanking him for taking the time to be here. It was such a big, it's been like a really fun time. It's been a really fun chat. So I'm glad that you were able to be here. As a man says that Kevin has a $200,000 studio ready to sit down and stream and does no editing besides. Yeah. Well, there you go. All I need is 200 grand to make that happen. Sabina says, I'm taking 2 hours just getting childcare set up. I want to do YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. Well, finding the time. And Anthony says he'll catch the replay. And yes, this is a good one to go and catch back. And also we have another chat that that was pre-recorded that is here on the channel and also over on the podcast. Thank you for the time. Yasmin just dropping in. Said thanks for the chat. Good to meet you. I would say that folks have enjoyed having you here, and so have I. And hopefully, in the future, you will come back and update us on how things are going. And then, just feel free to be part of the community. Everybody, I think we are all trying to do the same thing, which is make money with websites.
Yeah. So thank you all. Thank you for the kind words, and I'm glad I could be here. Definitely looking forward to another talk sometime.
Yeah, well, maybe that site will just like magically come back, and then in a couple weeks you'll be right back here to tell us all about it.
That would be amazing. That would be a best case scenario.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Next week we have the regular Wednesday show, and I think on Thursday I'm having a special extra random stream because that's how it worked out for time. But Jared Krause from Building Online Businesses is going to be here for a live stream. A special on Thursday. I don't normally do Thursday, but that's he promised that we could stream before he went surfing because that's his life. Awesome. Thank you so very much, everyone. Can't wait to hear what you accomplish in the next week, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.